I am so excited to introduce to our live stream audience one of my dear friends, Stephen Barr. Stephen is the founder and lead member. You're not just the lead member, you're like the actual leader founding leader
yes.
of Cast Member Church, a Jesus-centered global community of those who work in the Disney parks around the world. I'm a Disney theme park fan. Stephen knows that. And so, Stephen, I am so glad we get to talk. Welcome.
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is really fun. This is special for our live stream audience because we get to have this behind-the-scenes kind of exclusive conversation. So, Stephen, for people who don't know about Cast Member Church, tell us what you do.
Oh, my goodness. I'm a disciple maker.
Yeah.
That's what I do. But in the process of making disciples over the last 12 years, we've seen something become a church, which has become a movement that's now located on 6 continents and 12 first languages.
So amazing.
And every Disney park location around the world.
Yeah, when we were off air, Stephen was actually speaking French to all of us, just so our live stream audience knows that. Okay, so Stephen, tell us why Disney? Because, I mean, there's so many questions I have for you about the model of the church itself, but let's start there. Did God give you a passion for Disney? Were you already situated at Disney? How did this even begin?
I was a cast member in 1991.
Yes.
And once you work for Disney, you have something what we call mouse blood. It's kind of like a band of brothers on a much more pixie dust scale. But
awesome.
In any case, but there's a connection. The Disney cast members are dreamers and doers. They have something in common. And I remember in 91 that there was nothing serving the cast members, no church, nothing that really moved in that direction. But it was a passing thought. And then all these years later, I had the opportunity to, my wife and I had the opportunity to start something at Disney, and it was a natural fit.
Wow.
It was a natural fit. And we learned a lot along the way.
Yeah.
But it was born in 1991.
Unbelievable.
But God
that
took
little
his
seed
time.
was planted in 1991.
Exactly. But it took all that time for it to germinate.
Yeah. Okay, so talk to us about how this actually works, because I know you don't have a traditional Sunday morning service. You invite cast members to come. And when we're saying cast members, we actually mean people who work at Disney. That's kind of some insider Disney language.
Anyone who works for the Disney company,
is
from the president
cast
to the custodian, they're cast members. They're part of a show.
I love that. So it's not a traditional church in the way that we might think about traditional church. How does this actually work?
Well, we're a network of what we call communities. And I think the closest way to describe it would be microchurches.
Yeah.
But those could be anywhere from 3 people to 8 or 9 people.
Okay.
But they are, from the beginning, designed to multiply. 95% of our church had never touched a Bible before encountering us.
On,
so the church
amazing.
has grown out of the harvest. So they don't have a church background.
Yes.
So they are, as they come into our church family, as they come into the kingdom, they are already excited to multiply.
Yeah.
They're already excited to live outward. And so that changes. And so these micro churches, we celebrate small.
Yeah.
We multiply small, but we celebrate the small because that's where life transformation happens, is around the dinner tables, around the smaller environments.
Oh, it's so cool, Stephen. Okay, and I know your heart is kind of for Epcot. Your wife is situated there. That's a lot of your community. But God is also moving you like Disneyland Paris, Tokyo Disney. I mean, God is doing some incredible things. Can you even just talk about that, like starting at Epcot and moving outward?
Well, my wife is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
She's
awesome, by the way.
Yes, she is. She is. She works at Epcot, and on any given day, she has about 300 cast members that she's responsible for. But in any case, Epcot, one part of Epcot is World Showcase, which is 11 different countries where every country is represented by people who live in those countries.
Yeah.
And so we've been just because that's where she worked. That's her marketplace, so to speak.
Right.
And so we started investing in those cast members, and then they go back home. But now they want to be part of what we're doing. And sometimes they go to Disneyland Paris, Disneyland Tokyo. It actually has moved outward just because of how my wife lives intentionally and allowing me to kind of come in and partner with her.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
exactly.
Your
So
wife is amazing.
I agree.
She's awesome.
I
She's
agree.
awesome.
But yeah, so we're international now. So Paris is we're now in Paris, and now she's starting to focus more on Tokyo as we move outward.
So cool. Okay, so one of the things that you and I have talked about is, especially at a place like Disney, you're not necessarily going to come in with traditional church language or Christianese or something like that. You want to be mindful and intentional actually to unlearn all of that language. And so some of what you do, I think, is so beautifully contextualized. You talk about being a kingdom expression. You use this different language with people. Can you tell our live stream audience a little bit about that?
Sure. Because our audience is international, or our family is international, we have to think culture all the time. How does this word translate into culture? And we discovered that with a lot of our Europeans, the word disciple can sound like a cult. You're joining a cult. And we don't want to compromise the word of God by any means.
Sure.
But how could we say it in a way that clicks with them? And will this work in Norwegian as well as Japanese? And so we discovered that a disciple is a kingdom expression.
Yeah.
It's something that God wants to reveal through you to others. And as you grow in him, you become more and more of a kingdom expression, but designed and called to move outward. And so that clicks with everybody. So we pay very close attention to every piece of vocabulary that we use in our church to make sure that it connects.
Okay, and then for people whose minds are still blown by this, do you meet around your tables, you meet in your home? Are you meeting once a week? Are you meeting every night? Are you meeting organically? Like how are those kinds of gatherings happening?
The answer would be yes.
All of it, all of it.
Yeah, you cannot make disciples 1 hour a week. You can't.
Yeah.
You can do certain things within an hour a week, but you cannot make disciples. So our micro churches work or gather even daily around the dinner table at someone's apartment. They do life together. Remember, they work together. So they're actually in that environment, but they're literally engaging at work. They're engaging at play.
Gotcha.
They're engaging, and so yes, there are certain times of the week where they may do something that we call God conversations or something an intentional Bible study at certain points.
Okay.
But that is not the end. That's the beginning of the relationship that they do as they do life.
Oh, I just think it's such a cool. I mean, I know it's not even a model; it's just your way of life. But I think if you think about it as a model, it's an amazing way to do church because it's really family, it's community, it's life together, as we talk about.
It's natural.
Often.
It's natural. It's unforced.
Yeah.
They want to be together.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, I want to get back into the church, but I do have to ask you just some Disney questions.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Favorite ride? Do I need to narrow it down to a theme park? Is it too hard to say out Disney? Okay.
That's it's like, what day is it? I mean,
okay.
I love traditional Disney.
Yeah.
So Peter Pan's Flight.
That's such a great ride.
I mean, it's an old ride,
Yep.
but to know the millions of people that have ridden that, it's and it's something that's truly Disney.
Yeah.
That's
iconic Disney.
Exactly.
Okay,
So
that's really fun.
Theme park. Boy, that's hard. Epcot is certainly here in Orlando,
amazing.
But I have to say Disneyland Paris is just something it's beautiful.
Okay, so let's actually talk a little bit about Disneyland Paris. You and your wife have just started to begin launching cast member church there. How's that going? What's happening there?
Slow.
Yeah.
It is slow, but that's part of the process.
Yeah.
I mean, we've embraced slow. So we're making disciples among some of the French cast members as well as the European cast members. There's a lot of people that are not French that work for Disneyland Paris, but they're from Croatia or UK or Italy. And so the idea is remembering that they already have the desire to multiply.
Yeah.
So we are more facilitating and just kind of helping them learn through each step they take,
Okay.
the mistakes that they make, but helping them find their own way of making disciples. It's different in France than it would be here in Orlando.
Wow.
And so we actually become students of what they're doing as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
But it's starting to take a hold.
Yeah.
It's starting to take a hold. And it's exciting because it's happening in France. which is not known for a lot of Christendom.
Yeah.
And so I'm very encouraged that there are some streams in the desert starting to flow.
Is that what some of the main differences are, just the context of France versus the context of America? Or what are some of those differences you're seeing?
I think France is coming out of post-Christendom.
Yep.
We're going into it.
Yep.
And so France has already tried the stuff, all of the other stuff, and they're open spiritually. They're curious. They are not hostile at all. They're curious, but they're conflicted.
Yep.
Or they're confused.
Yep.
And so we have to earn their trust. And that takes time. It's expressing value, forming trust, but we plant Jesus at all the time, but without coming across like we have an agenda.
Yeah, you're not being pushy.
They can smell that a mile away.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so wise, Stephen.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us a story. Like, what's something you've seen God do that keeps you going and keeps your wife going?
Oh my gosh, there's so many, but I think truth be told, it's watching someone who has absolutely no Christian background, never touched a Bible, never even graced the threshold of a church, and watching a light bulb come on, maybe not to the whole salvation story, but watching Jesus little by little break through to them. We call them micro miracles.
That's
you know,
awesome.
It's like, because we're not afraid to just go slow.
Yeah.
But seeing people who have gone from absolute nothing to gradually waking up and realizing I am loved, I am valued, and this generation does not know how valuable they are.
Wow.
And so I think that's the common story, but seeing it in the lives of whether they're Italian or French or German or American, there is an awakening.
Yeah.
And that has been real encouraging to me. But now we're seeing cast members that are moving up in the Disney company and living their faith out loud. And so they're having kingdom influences as the Lord promotes them.
Oh, it's so amazing, Stephen. I love hearing what God's doing through you and your wife and your family. Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
You've posted on Instagram before a picture of you at maybe a Starbucks. I don't know, you're at a coffee shop, and it's just something like, let's talk, or I'm here to listen, or talk to us about that.
Yeah. Well, we know that we're in the midst of a mental health crisis, and that's a global thing. And we just realized that there's not a place for people to go that they can feel safe. So we started something. We didn't create this. I think we borrowed it from some other organization. But we now have cast members who will sit at a Starbucks, and they put a little tent card in front of them that says "willing to listen." And the goal is not to preach. We're not going to try to. We are there to listen. We'll ask questions, but that's just simply to help them express what they're going through. I honestly believe we've saved some lives in the process, but it's starting to catch on. And it's pretty vulnerable to sit there and put a
would think so. When I saw that on Instagram, I was like, that's amazing. And I don't know if I have the courage to do it.
Oh, you get some looks and you get some odd questions and made fun of a little bit, but so what?
Yeah.
So what?
You're building relationships.
We're there to reveal Jesus to people by listening and valuing them. I will never stop doing that. And I don't think anyone who's done it, once they've stepped into that, they'll continue to do it for the rest of their lives.
So amazing. Well, we love what you do. We love what you and your wife and your family do. We love that you're all about multiplication. We love that you're about the kingdom in the magic kingdom. So thank you so much for spending some time here with us today.
It has been a privilege and a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely grateful for you.